Hi, everybody. Aloha, Torie Hoopii. Thank you for tuning in. This is our management class on Christafari's Ascend Masterclasses. And I am the host today. I'll be talking about management. There's just waiting for Mark to tune in, but I guess he's not able to tune in. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it off. Before I start the class, I just want to take the time to say an opening prayer. If you want to bow your heads. Father God, we just thank you for this day, Lord God. We thank you for Ascend Masterclasses, Lord. We thank you for Zoom and the opportunity to reach everyone all over the world, Father God. We thank you for Christafari and the ministry that you have set before them this past 30 years, Father God. We just thank you for this time that you would use me to share the wisdom and knowledge that you have given me and you have blessed me with to everybody here, Father God. We also take a moment to pray for our world and pray for everything that's happening around us, Father God. But we know that you are in control of everything. And we are exercising our faith right now in this moment. We thank you for our moderators. We thank you for our translators, Lord God. And we thank you for people that are tuning in. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Okay, so my name is Torie. I'm from Wailuku, Maui, and I've been with Christafari for 10 years. Just to give you a brief history about my journey with Christafari, I met them at a show here in Maui, like I said, 10 years ago. I was excited. I was overjoyed to meet them actually because being saved and having a love for reggae music. When I heard they're in town, we have a Coconut Wireless here, so everybody was like, yeah, Christafari's in town. And at that certain
Enquanto eu estava ouvindo eles
at the mall.
e vendo os shows, e quando eles faziam os eventos, eu realmente ficava muito animada. Quando eu fui no primeiro evento do Christafari, realmente eu me apaixonei sobre os testemunhos e Deus me deu o talento, né, de eu estar usando o meu dom para música e para arte. Há 17 anos Deus tem me usado. Então, Deus me deu várias dinâmicas para poder estar usando no seu reino. Então, realmente, eu fico muito grata a Deus pelas coisas que Ele tem feito na minha vida. E é muito engraçado de ver que às vezes eu fico tão cansada, mas mesmo assim eu tô lá falando isso, eles olham para mim assim, nossa, como essa garota não para. Tá, sorte, você é maluca mesmo. Realmente eu ia falar isso.
It was one of those frantic moments where I was having to be the manager, the booking agent, the everything. I had to deal with the set list. I had to get the band. We had a whole band. Me and Avian had a whole band of people that didn't know our music. And then all of a sudden they're like, where's the CDs? And so, you know, I'm in panic now. Set up the CDs. And if you've seen me set up CDs, you know I'm more of a throw it in the air, 52 card pickup
and
style.
The guy you had kind of looked like Obi, what wasn't Obi. And I was asking him about the music, and he's like, oh, he had no clue.
Nobody knew anything about anything, and then you came along as I'm frantically trying to set up this table, and you're like, can I help? And I'm like, I took a deep breath, and I'm like, and then you just started helping.
Yeah.
And then people started asking prices, and I started mentioning prices, and then you took note of that. And then you looked at me, I'll never forget it, and you said, you go and play, I'll take care of this.
Right.
So you went to the first Christafari show to see this band.
Yes.
And you didn't really get a chance to see the band. You served.
Right.
It was such an incredible witness. And then we had another show.
Right.
And lo and behold, you showed up. And so here I am thinking, oh, finally, this girl's going to see this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you served again.
Yep.
And then we had another show.
Yeah.
And then you served. And then we go to another island and you show up.
Yeah.
That freaked me out. That made me realize this girl was willing to put some skin in the game. So point number one for a good manager, you got to be able to put some skin in the game.
Right.
Skin in the game. How do you translate that? You have to be able to put your money where your mouth is. You have to be willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy, and believe in something so much that you're willing to have some risk.
Yep.
Because all management is risk, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And so you did. You followed us to another island, and then to another island, and then to another island. What were you doing before that?
So before Christafari, I was a librarian. I worked at a high school library. Yes.
A librarian.
Yes, I was. And when I went to island to island,
a good manager knows how to organize, and nobody knows how to organize like a librarian, right?
Yes, yes. And multitask.
Dewey Decimal System. You know how to keep people quiet.
Right.
And how to find the right book.
Right.
So yeah, you followed us, and obviously what happened was, for me, I instantly saw this person.
Y lo que pasó que fue que para mí instantáneamente vi que había una persona con nosotros en retrospectiva que quería sembrar también. Empezaste a ir más y más y más. Y quiero revolver un poquito, quiero como a través de años.
As I think back, our first manager was me, of course. Everybody's your own first manager. Didn't know what I was doing. I remember going to a local Christian bookstore / record store with a tape saying, "Can I get signed to a label?"
Puedo aprender a cómo a añadirme a una casa disquera. No tenía idea. Esa fue mi primera experiencia como manager, siendo yo mismo.
And her father. My brother got us our worst gig ever. Get this, Torie. You may recall, you don't know this one, but you may recall that we did some seriously roots shows back in the day.
Nosotros teníamos, mi hermano y yo tuvimos que viajar en medio del desierto hacia un concierto. Y nosotros habíamos conseguido hamburgers. Y estaba muy mal. Y fue una experiencia muy difícil para nosotros. Yo fui a
Y entonces,
una vez
bueno,
más,
estás trabajando con tu
trabajar
mejor
con tu
amiga.
mejor amigo es un reto. A veces afecta la amistad. Esto puede ser una cosa muy difícil,
Puede ser,
pero estos son parte de los desafíos si tú lo quieres lograr en la industria. Nosotros hemos, acerca de la industria musical, nosotros nos dimos cuenta que es muy diferente. Siempre se trata de ganar, de los números. Nosotros éramos parte de la disquera de DC Talk. Nosotros también éramos de Sony Colombian.
Tocamos para el presidente de Estados Unidos y teníamos un montón de cosas que pasar, pero el manager era el como que hizo un motín para mismo y con pero hizo que diéramos y que nos separáramos. Primero yo, uno más, y después el resto de los muchachos empezaron a y es como que él estaba a hacer como covers de cosas. Bueno, entonces, fue bastante. Y terminó una batalla final, era muy malo, muy feo. Era una. Y tenía otro.
I said, well, I didn't say those exact words.
Y esas palabras.
You say you don't trust me. Click. He hung up on me, and we didn't talk for years. After that was somebody else who I trusted with my credit cards and stole probably $30,000. And it was a tough one. And then I met you.
Mhm.
When I met you, Torie, I had been burnt to a crisp, like those marshmallows when you try to make s'mores.
Yeah.
But they become nuclear. I was the nuclear marshmallow. So I was like barbed wire fence up. You know, every artist is like, please help me. I was like, helping means hurting to me right now.
Yeah.
Are you going to hurt me? And I can honestly say we worked together for about 10 years. Torie's the best manager that we've ever worked with. I'm not saying that because I'm working with you now. She shares the vision. That's the most important thing. As a manager, I'm going to let Torie talk in just one second, but I have to tell you, you have to share the vision. She shares the call.
Yo tengo que decirte que tienes que comenzar a predicar la visión.
And she started off as a humble servant. A true manager needs to be willing to serve. They need to have a servant's heart. She had a drive.
Ella tiene un corazón de siervo.
You have to be tenacious. You have to have stick-to-itiveness. You have to know how to
Tú tienes que
grab on with your teeth like a pit bull and not let go until you get your way, but not leave marks and not make a bloody mess. And you know how to do that.
Ella es muy, muy creativa.
She was faithful in the small at first.
Ella es muy fiel.
Mohr. I think you may have started with gospel reggae next.
Yep,
and then you started with tour managing, of course. And then you started booking just in Hawaii.
Yes.
And then you started booking the world. And
Después
now
tú comenzaste a trabajar en el mundo.
BOSS, the boss.
Y te convertiste en la jefa.
I remember when I put that name in your contact phone.
Yo recuerdo poner ese nombre en el libro de contactos. Muchas personas pueden pensar que
We have 6 kids.
Quantas crianças você tem? 6.
And now we have 2 grandkids that are like our kids because we raised them together.
Agora,
What is your husband's father's notoriety about?
So my husband's father, he is
a profissão do pai do meu marido,
Hawaii. He's won.
ele era um cantor aí no Havaí.
Which is like equivalent to a Grammy here.
Ele era um cantor de Hanaku, uma música havaiana aí.
The world category, which is now regional roots category. He was won 2 of those.
Ele ganhou um Grammy, o avô do meu marido.
He's a lifetime achievement winner, and he's also now in the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame. Yes.
That is so. And so when people go to Hawaii and they hear that, I can't even do it. The high falsetto singing, where a guy's kind of sounding like a girl because they're singing so high with the ukulele. That's chances are that song is his or something that he inspired.
Yes.
That's so great. So you know how to manage a very large family and keep your sanity in the midst of insanity. And that is something that a manager needs to learn how to do. Keep their sanity in the midst of insanity. You have a lot of that. They need to know how to multitask and be a tireless worker, a phenomenal work ethic, which is what you have. And one other thing that you do that I love that no other manager that I've worked with does is when you ask something, you ask kindly, you wait patiently, you don't nag, you gently nudge, nudge, nudge in persistent love. And because of that, you get things done. And so you've managed to get us where I'm like the kind of guy where I'm like, yeah, you know what, we'll take whatever. You managed to get us something that helps cover our costs that is priceless for me. And so that being said, Torie, when we took a personality test,
Yes.
was almost the same as me, but so many of your traits are very similar to my wife. So you get along with both of us. You're the perfect fit for us. So introducing, ladies and gentlemen, she was knit in her mother's womb by God for a job at a time such as this. I just got to say, she's our manager, not yours. Many artists have tried to take her. You can have every single one of her ideas and take all kinds of these pointers from her beautiful mindset, but please don't take her because she is a one of a kind. Give it up for Torie Hoopii.
Thank you, Mark. Did you want to talk about our other packages that we're gonna do, or you want me to?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, absolutely. Great pointer.
See?
Before we go any further, she's the manager.
I'm nudging you.
How she just gently did that? It wasn't a, hey, you forgot to. Okay. There are a few things that I want to encourage you with.
Yes.
This is a really 6-class series. You're in class number 1. You may not know it's 6 class, but it is. And the next one is social media, June 11th, Thursday at 3 p.m. So that's basically a week from today,
Yes.
right? At 3 p.m., Torie is going to be teaching you all her ninja skills on social media. People come up to me all the time saying, hey, Mark, man, your social media is on point. That post you did today was so poignant. I'm like, really? Let me check it.
I'm his ghostwriter.
And it's bad. It's bad. She writes love letters from me to my wife and love letters from my wife to me. She knows us so well. And we give her carte blanche because we've toured together. We've done so much life together that we can think like each other. And that is a crucial thing. Think like the artist. Okay. And then the next one is, so every single manager, and now, by the way, every one of these classes I'm telling you about, you don't have to be able to play an instrument. You don't even have to be able to play a kazoo. You do not have to have any sort of instrumental or vocal skill. Chances are you're watching this because you don't have that skill. Another point that I need you to know is that you don't have to apply these things to the music industry. But social media, everybody needs to be on point with that. So that's a great class. Next one, tour management. If you're going to lead a trip, even a missions trip, a Boy Scout trip, a field trip, these are all crucial things. But tour management, that is going to be huge. That's on the 15th, Monday, 3 p.m. And Michelle is going to be teaching that with you. The next one is promoting an album or a concert, or it could be a single, promoting something. And that is going to be Thursday, June 18th at 5 p.m. We're going to talk about things beyond social media. And you wouldn't believe some of the steps that we take to promote a song, a video, an album. You'd be like, wow, that's a lot. Well, it takes a lot to get a lot. And then beyond that, the last one that you're going to be teaching is concert booking. And she is the booking extraordinaire. You've booked in how many countries would you guess?
Oh my gosh.
50,
Well,
60? Who
yes.
knows?
In 1 year, we did 30 countries.
Yeah. So, and a typical year is 20 to 30, and that's not one show per country. Sometimes that could be a dozen. So yeah, concert booking. I taught her everything I knew, and then she ran with it, and she turned that 5K into a marathon. So you need to do that. And then the last 2 classes that I want to encourage you with, everything that we're doing is based on doing this for Jesus. So I just want to say that it's going to be from a biblical perspective, and beyond that, we want to encourage you to do it wholeheartedly for Jesus and not for the money. And so the last 2 classes are how to become a missionary, becoming a full-time missionary, and then how to raise funds. And so Torie can teach you that. And I just want to end and introduce her with this final appeal. Torie is a full-time missionary as well. And since she's not on stage, since she's not in all these music videos, since she's not the most prominent person, it is the hardest for people to just naturally think, oh, I'll just support that person whose name I've never seen, whose face I've never seen. So if you are blessed by this class, if you're as blessed by her as we are, I want to encourage you at the end of this class to go to Christafari.com/donate. That's Christafari.com/donate. I'll put that in the chat in just a second. And click on donate, and then when you choose fund, click Torie Hoopii. That's 2 O's, 2 I's. You can't miss it. Please, 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 I beg of you, start supporting her monthly so that she can continue to do this and feed her 6 kids. Thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Torie Hoopii.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. That was awesome. Yes, so like Mark said, I had no experience coming into working with Christafari. After when I first met them and I went from island to island, I went back to my librarian job and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like the worst thing ever. And so that, I guess that's what lit a fire in my heart, was like, wow, I felt such a connection. And I felt like I was in the center of God's will. And I felt God calling me to help them. So that was another thing that drove me, because I've always said in my 10 years I've been with Christafari is that, my manager is God, and I represent him and I represent Jesus. So I want to do my best. And that's what still drives me to this day. It's like, I don't want to represent them or misrepresent them in a wrong way that's not of God, because I feel like I've been anointed and appointed for this position, which is not only being their manager, but I hold other different positions in the ministry. And so if God has called you, he'll qualify you and he'll give you the different giftings and the things you need to equip you to do your job the best way. So I do as everything is unto the Lord. And
I love that. Can I add to that
Sure.
next phrase that we hear all the time? God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. It's interesting that the best manager we've ever worked with didn't go to school for it, didn't study it. I can teach somebody skills, but you can't teach somebody to have the right heart.
Right.
It's so, you got to find that person with the right heart. And I need you to understand also that a lot of these skill sets, people are looking for that easy button. There is none. People are looking for that one person to do all the work and to make life so much easier for them. If they're not willing to do it for themselves, get another job, do something else, quit. You got to be willing to do this for yourselves. And chances are, if you're an artist that isn't selling, I don't know, X amount of dollars a month, you are never going to be able to get a manager until you learn how to self-manage and grow that career, because nobody's going to want 10% of nothing or 20% of nothing, which is what oftentimes managers do in a traditional environment. So I want to encourage you that the things that you're learning today, apply them to yourself as a self-manager. If you don't have the manager, don't just think, okay, I'm looking for this.
Right.
Be this.
Yes, exactly. Well said, Mark. And with my giftings, I love organization. I love structure, and I'm very disciplined, and I'm very scheduled. So when it came to Christafari, the first half when I managed them, I worked a daytime job. So I would get up super early, drive, go to work, try not to do Christafari stuff while I'm working my regular job. But then I also, take care of the kids. And my husband, of course, was Mr. Dad. Like, I couldn't have done any of this without him. He supports me in everything I've done with Christafari. So I would come home and do all my Christafari work after dinner, after, when I came home after work. And that's when I would do my Christafari work. If it was management, booking, social media, email, you name it. So I had a structure and I had a schedule. So in order to keep things aligned, I didn't do a whole bunch of everything, because I like to complete stuff. Like, I'm that person where I want to say, hey, I checked this off my list. I don't want to say like I worked on all these different projects and didn't accomplish anything, because then that's super frustrating for me. I want to say, hey, I did all these things and I can mark that off my list. I got that done. And that for me is very key. Also, when I'm on the road or when I'm working with churches, promoters, or anything, or even with band members, sometimes I'll be put in, most of the times the situations are very uncomfortable, and I would have to push myself beyond those limits when I'm in uncomfortable situations, because I am that person of authority, and I am the first person that the promoter, church, anybody will be besides when they meet the artist in person. So I have to make sure that I am a good representative of who Christafari is, or a good representative of Mark. And I always think of Ziza too as well, because I met Mark at Avion before there was Ziza. And when I think of my kids, I want to be a good example for Ziza, and I don't want to misrepresent, you know, the ministry as a whole. So I'm also, when there's a problem, you have to be the one to find the solutions. Like Mark will always, if something's happening, we're on the road, or I saw you come in.
Give me problems, give me solutions.
Yes. He's like, because he wants to focus on being, you know, the artist, what, you know, sharing the message, being on stage. He doesn't want to have to, you know, mix roles. He wants me to be the one to find the solution. My job is to make it easier for the artist. So Mark can get on stage, or, you know, give this call for salvation. He doesn't want to be worrying about what's going on the side. And I think that's been one of the best things about our relationship, is that he can trust me with who's running the merch table, who has the green room, you know, this and that, who's watching Ziza or whatever. If that, you know,
and
that
sometimes you were watching Ziza. Yeah, you were.
Yes.
You would step up in whatever capacity, and that's
right.
You have to be willing to say I'm willing to serve in whatever capacity. If you're the kind of person who says that's not my job description,
right?
I don't know. And obviously, we're not having you get our laundry or do this or do
right.
that every single day, or you know, clean my toilets. That would be ridiculous to have somebody do that. I know some managers go above and beyond, but having that kind of written out, these are the expectations, but at the same time being willing to help in whatever capacity. I love what you said earlier. Essentially, you described yourself as an extension of the artist,
mm-hmm. Yes.
As our voice, our face.
Yep.
Before we ever meet a promoter, how many conversations do you typically have with somebody?
Oh gosh, you know, emails first, telephone conversations, texts. I mean, over the years, oh my gosh, I would say I see threads, especially in Europe, you know, where it's hard to get somebody on the phone because of the time difference.
Yeah,
we have like 100 different. Gosh.
Well, let's say something like we're working on Poland, we're working on
right.
on Czech Republic. Between
mm-hmm.
those two promoters for a show with them,
yes.
How many touches back and forth would that be?
Gosh, over 100, definitely.
Okay, yeah, and that's a lot of work. Now, how many of those touches did I do?
Not until you get there and you meet them, and I'll be like whispering in his ear, okay, this is so and so.
His name is Adam.
Yeah.
His name is Adam. His wife's name is this. Their daughter's in the hospital or whatever it is.
Yep.
You know, you'll be telling me all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I pull that guy aside later on. And I ask this question. So how has it been working with Torie? And then they'll tell me, oh, she's the best thing ever. And I'll be like, so any problems with her? They'll say, absolutely not. I'll say, any concerns? Absolutely not. Was there any time that you felt we were being misrepresented? No. Would you recommend we continue to work with her? I ask this all the time, and I've never heard a comment once. So just for that. All right, let's continue on. I just wanted to say that and it's crucial that an artist does that. That an artist, not in a negative way, just in a how's it going kind of a thing. And over the years, I didn't do that. Over the years, like one, I showed up at one church for something else, and I went up to the pastor and said, "Hey, man, how come you never had us back? That concert was packed. It was incredible. How come you didn't have us back?" He pulls me into his back room and he's like, "Well, because you said this, 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 and this." I'm like, and then he's like, "Yeah, well, that's what your translator, who was your manager at the time said. So I said I'd never work with this artist ever again." I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, I need to repent now for something that I've never done, because I actually did it by hiring that person and not having those checks and those balances. So that was something that I learned a lot from. And from here on out, I have a lot more hands-on, and I ask those questions to the promoters afterwards when we can with language. All right, what's it?
Like Mark said, rarely does a manager get name recognition. No one knows my face. I'm like the DL, like the down low, the undercover. I actually had anxiety for today's class because I'm used to being on the back end, you know, the behind the scenes person, and I'm comfortable with that, you know. But you always work the most. I can say that. That was, I think, one of the hardest things for me when I started touring with Christafari outside of Hawaii and like booking all over the world. You do the most work. And, you know, I really had to humble myself and pray like, God, you know, because it's sometimes your flesh likes to rise up, especially on long travel days or lack of sleep. Like when we were in a long, I think it was Brazil, long bus rides. And our former drummer wanted to
11 hours isn't long. Yeah, you don't know what it takes until I say Christians are like tea bags. You don't know what they're made of until you put them in hot water. And this was one of those. Many times we've had that, and then yeah, you have a little scuffle, or there's that moment where you have to check your spirit. It's not easy, but you keep pushing through because you're doing it for him and not for you.
Yes, and it definitely wasn't for the money, but it was for God, and that's what I to this day in everything I do. It's to bring God glory, because I always said that I'm his trophy of grace. I'm his instrument. Everybody else, how do you do this? How do you do that? You know, how do you do so many things and still be a mom? It's like, I don't, God does it. I'm just his instrument. And I still use that saying. And as a pilot, I steer the ship. Marcus, you know, we together. And you'll see, if you tune in tomorrow, I think is Mark's band leading class. You know, we were very much co-pilots together.
Yeah. We are co-pilots. And here's the thing about the band leading thing is that the chances are, if you're watching this, you are a leader or in a band, and you need to learn how to manage this band, manage yourself, or find the right band. Ultimately, find the best manager for you. Find your own Torie, and that's great, but you still need to learn how to lead the band as a leader. So tomorrow's class, I'm going to be teaching at this time tomorrow on band leading, and I really want to encourage you guys all to join in on that, because every manager is a band leader in one way or another, or leading that band, and every band leader is a manager or co-manager in one way or another. So it's a symbiotic relationship. You were talking about piloting.
Yes.
And obviously, you mentioned earlier that this is a tireless job. It's a thankless job, and that you're working hard for God, not for man. But let's talk about this. I love this pilot analogy that you brought up, and I'd like to think of it like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna be encouraging people to come up with a written mission statement. Well, each band should have one. Each album should have one. Each song should have a goal. Each tour should have a goal. And it could be the location. It could be, for us, let's say it's Africa, primarily East Africa, reaching out to as many as we can, and the least of these, and doing so for free. Okay, that's your mission. You now have to get us concerts in large outdoor outreaches. You have to get us into not just churches, but into prisons, into orphanages, into slums. All these things tie that vision to that mission. So I love this pilot, because what the pilot analogy is, it's what do they call that one? The flight plan.
Flight plan.
It's a flight plan. It's like we're going from here to Sao Paulo with no stops. Or here's, and that's your job, and then you focus on the trajectory, while the artist is focusing on, okay, what songs am I going to do? What's the order of the set list? What's the costume? What am I going to share? Am I going to preach the gospel? So what's it like for you as that you're now a pilot, and you're like, so first of all, do you have to agree with the direction we're going?
no, because most times you're like, I've come up with this crazy idea. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Oh,
that was just the other day. Like, I'm like, okay, what's your crazy idea? And he's like, are you taking notes? And he's like, of course you are, because he hears me typing. So he comes up with the, he's like, he's the brain, or he has an inspiration, because this is your band. You've been doing this for 30 years. So
yeah.
Yes. And so my job is to make that happen, or in some way, bring it to fruition or manifest it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you may not always understand the destination we're going to, but
Right.
you have to like the airline that you're flying for, at least.
Right.
So you're flying for Christafari Airways. You may not understand it. I just got to ask this question. What was going through your head when 2.5, 3 weeks ago, we had a band meeting and I said, hey guys, I had this vision. I want to do 40 classes. What the heck was going through your head?
I was like, he's lost his mind. No, I was thinking, are you serious? Because it's pandemic, everybody's taking time off. And first it was going to be 1 week classes, and it's like 40 classes, and we were like 1 month. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this?
I know God was telling me 40 because Jesus, it was 40 days until he ascended, and everybody else was hoping it was 20 or 30. I was like, no, it's going to be 40.
Right.
You guys are like, that's too much. It's going to be crazy.
Yes.
But at the end of it all, it gives you an opportunity to rise to the occasion.
Yep.
And to grow in ways that you wouldn't normally have grown.
Yes.
I'm watching these other classes, watching each band member teach, and I'm so proud.
Yes.
So continue on. Let's talk about this trajectory, the piloting, the being the captain or the co-captain of this. What's that like for you?
Well, you have to share like the same vision, same heart, but we have to be able to see things eye to eye. And for me, it's easier when I put my feelings or put my opinions to the back. And sometimes, because just like how, your faith is exercised, you don't see the whole plan, but you trust God that, and I trust Mark with that he's hearing from God. So I'm like, okay, he's hearing from God. This is something that God's calling him to do. So I'm like, okay, we just have to, like Moses, he had Aaron and Hur to hold up his hands. That was a prophecy that was given to me by our percussionist, RJ Strickland. He's like, you're like Aaron and Hur holding up Mark's arms. And so I just have to trust that he's hearing from God. Yes. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. And there is that trust, and there will be times where you end up following somebody and you realize, you know what, this person is wackadoo, or this person, won't see things eye to eye. If you're arguing with that person all the time, if maybe it's their norm, maybe it's your norm, I don't know. I mean, how many major arguments have you and I ever had?
None. None.
So there's definitely a piece about that, and in that way you're I get along with you the same way I get along with my wife. There are people in my life that these people are more prone to arguments, but I never saw my mom and dad argue once growing up. They disagreed. We don't always agree, and we want to hear each other out. But this is crucial. Something else I'd like to add to this airplane analogy. Ultimately, both have to agree that they're going in the right direction, and you shouldn't be trying as a manager to course correct because you think you know what's best. I recently had an issue with a manager that I had to let go. Not too recent, but it was, I don't want to tell you the person's name, but I was asking them to do A and they were doing B behind my back time and time again because they thought they knew what was best. And that's undermining. That's and especially this person, it's not respectful. It's you wouldn't ever want that. John wouldn't want that for one of his disciples. Jesus wouldn't want that for one of his disciples. Or many times when Peter's like, no, I got a better plan. But he's like, no. And I'm obviously not saying I'm Jesus by any means, but you guys have to be in agreement. The Bible says, how can two people walk together And so the Bible also says we're supposed to be equally yoked. That doesn't limit us to only working with Christians and then you're fine. You can be working with a Christian that's unequally yoked in the level of belief and the vision. We've seen it all the time where two Christians marry and they are, not connecting and completely unequally yoked. And what happens when you're unequally yoked is, well, think of this big wooden yoke. It's a wooden piece that goes around the neck of each cow, and they're attached by a crossbar. And if the strong cow goes to the weak cow is forced to the left. Even if they want to go to the right, they're going to break apart or choke each other. As a manager, Tor, and you're taking me on a plane to a place do you know if I'm on a plane and the pilot's taking me to a place I don't want to go, I'm a hostage. Mm-hmm. And you don't want your artist to be a hostage, and you don't want the pilot to feel like he's being forced to do something. Yes. You got me?
Yes. Yep.
Not sure if that connection is bad on my end or your end, but why don't you continue on? You don't want to make your artist a hostage. You want to make sure you're.
Yes. So sometimes, we were going to places that are unknown too. And, all we had were communications with the church or event organizer. Like, we've never been there before, like Melanesia, the first time we went there. We had to have the right flight plan for that. Definitely, that's a great.
Oh, that was, and sometimes you are completely winging it when you get there. A lot of the places you've never been to, you are just having to say, okay, number one rule, flexibility.
Yep.
You got to be like a rubber band that can be completely elastic. And if you are not flexible, just let go of the rubber band. Bah! It'll snap you out of it. Yep. You need to be flexible.
Yes. And most of the times, which makes it easy, I want to be the one that takes on the stress because I don't want to over stress the band, because their main focus is to perform, to minister to the people. So most of the time it is the manager's role to do all the back end things beforehand, the itinerary, the flight plan, all of that needs to come from the manager. Then that can be talked about also in tour managing, but most of the times, in most recent history, I haven't been touring with Christafari physically, so that's where Michelle comes in, but I'm still doing all the management things from here in my home. Like, nobody would ever think that Christafari has been managed by Torie Hoopii from a little place called Wailuku, Maui. This is where the magic happens, I always say.
and what I love, I'd love for you to grab a few things off the wall while I share something really quick.
I have also my I put some pictures together too, but.
Oh, please grab them while I share something really quick. Okay. So what you've learned so far is that you have to be, you grab those photos while I talk.
Okay.
You have to be willing. Oh, there it is. Oh, nice. Yes. Okay. You have to be willing to do something that, oh, look at these photos. I'm so distracted by how beautiful they are. We have look at this. 1 second. Let me just share this then. Okay. We have a manager that lives in a different state, in a different time zone than us. Before that, our manager lived in a different state, in a different time zone than us. We've had that many times over. And so it's possible to manage somebody from the other side of the world. If obviously you want your sleep schedules to kind of match up. Look at that picture of Ziza. Oh my gosh. That was a very large team. This was, I'm thinking Guatemala or Honduras.
Yes,
or both.
Guatemala. Yes.
We filmed on that tour, Our God.
Okay.
So you don't just have to book these. You have to then, on this tour you managed, and on this tour, you also helped us arrange everything with the filming of the music videos that took place at the same time. And we can actually see you in the Our God music video, feeding people, feeding families. It was incredible.
Okay.
Awesome. What else do we got? Go to some other photos, or what else do we got here?
Oh, okay. How come it's not playing?
And we want you guys to ask us questions. So get your questions going. In a little bit, we're going to be going through those. But
so this was a reggae Christmas tour. That was, I would say, I don't know what defines success for me, but I guess it's just knowing that you're in the center of God's will, because success can be money for others or how many shows we booked or, you know, but Reggae Christmas, we were the first Christian reggae artist to go secular with a Christmas album. We debuted #1 on the reggae Billboard charts. And I think we did 26 shows in like 25 days, something crazy.
We did. It was insane. How did we do that? Well, a lot of times we would do 3 Sunday morning services and a Sunday evening concert.
Yes.
So we would then be able to have a Monday and maybe a Thursday off, or even a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. But we did a lot of concerts, and we made a killing on merch. And it helped us fund so many future mission trips.
Yes.
Oh,
this is the first time I met. It was only you and Abby on, and those are all my friends I brought from church. I'm like, hey, we gotta go see Christafari.
Yeah, and you can also see that Torie is very fit now. She and her husband are both wearing green there, and good on you for eating so well. How did Avian get so dark that day?
I don't know. And let's see. Oh, I have some more little gems. Oh, this is the first where I paid my way to go to Oahu, and then you had Juju was with us, but you know, you had John. This is RJ Strickland there, and you know,
look at Ziza. That was her very first tour.
Yep, very first tour. Yep.
Justin was so dark. Oh my gosh. He's down at the bottom with the "He is greater than I."
Yeah.
Look at Ziza. We took Ziza out at 2.5 months. We started doing tours.
Your mom was on that tour.
Yeah,
She came with you. Yeah. And this is the first time Mark ministered at our church.
My gosh.
Yes.
That's been a long time, girl.
Yeah. Yep.
God is good.
Amen. And I also have my first autograph.
Oh, what?
You remember these?
Oh my gosh. And
yeah.
If you guys don't see what that is, that's a thank you card.
Yes.
You know, a manager is the most thankless job, and we need to be there to thank and encourage them. We need to, Torie's love language is encouragement. And, okay, I got to see it. Bottom left, towards the corner, you and Ziza with the red, yellow, and green behind you.
Oh, yes. That's in Hana. Oh, wait, I have to show this one. This is when we were in Australia and we almost didn't get our visas to go to.
Oh, that was a management fiasco.
Oh my.
Tell what happened that day.
Oh my gosh. So we were in Brisbane, Australia, and we had to go down to get these visas to enter Papua New Guinea, and we did our flight was the next day, so we're on a time frame. So when we went down there, she's like, oh no, we're closed, and we're like, what, we're not taking it? And they're like, oh, we have to get special documents or papers or something, and they're not going to be here till tomorrow. And we're like, oh my, we're leaving tomorrow, we need this today. And it was oh God, please, and we didn't really know where we're going. We had to navigate, but thankfully Alex is he loved, he could map anything to get us there. And oh my gosh, we prayed and we just was like, oh, okay, we can do it. And she just gave us the stamps and we're like, oh my gosh, it was a miracle. That was the one situation where Mark was like, I don't know, just get it done. And we're like, it was this was the start of the tour. So if we didn't get to PNG, it was like, oh my gosh.
The whole rest of the tour would have, it was. Yes. If that domino was moved out of the way, none of the other ones would fall in. And there are times like that. I remember, I'm not sure if it was that tour or the next one, but we arrived then in Papua New Guinea, and you came to me and you said, Mark, all the other shows on the rest of the tour have been canceled, or at least the major ones.
Yes.
And so what do I say in something like that?
You're like, okay, well, God is still calling us. People still need to be saved. People need to hear the gospel. And so that's when you called your certain partners and we funded the whole thing. And you're like, you know what? People are still thinking we're going to be there. So, let's make it happen. And just so happened, the one guy that knew of us, he had his own sound equipment. And so we worked with somebody there in the country to make it happen. Yeah. And oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yeah. It was, and the coolest thing is that it was a ram and thicket kind of a thing. We were freaking out.
Yes.
I made one call. I found out that in order to do the show ourselves, it was going to cost us $30,000.
Yep.
We did not have that money.
Mm-hmm.
I made one call to a supporter, and I said, you know what, we're in this bind. He's like, how much? And I told him, he's like, I'm sending the money now. I'm like, and the whole band, we were eating pizza. I remember the lobby of the hotel. We're eating pizza. The whole band's like, are you serious? How did that? Oh my gosh. And it was the biggest harvest that we had seen. Each night we saw about 25,000 people come to Christ.
Yep.
And there are times as a manager where you need to really learn how to manage.
Yep. It's
kind of like being a shepherd. You got to go after the sheep. You got to use the right voice. So here's another tip that I want to give you guys about management, self-management. Don't ever expect your manager to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself.
Yes.
Don't expect your manager to care more about your career than you do, about your ministry than you do, about your mission than you do. If they do, then it's uneven. And then all of a sudden you're being dragged along. And it can almost become like the momager. You've all heard about the moms that are managers, or whether it's a soccer mom or a dad that's a coach that just pushes their kids so hard, so fast to do this that the kid doesn't want to do it. You can't have that environment. You can't create that environment. You have to let that artist take the lead. Obviously, they're probably not that gifted administratively as you are. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be willing to try. So within Christafari, over the years, I've always been a manager / co-manager, always going back and forth.
Yep.
And so you got to be willing to do it yourself. Another point you want to, besides the fact that, again, there's no easy button. This is not super happy fun time. This is hard work.
Yes.
It is. You won't get paid what you need. You won't get paid in accolades and fame. It will be it. You got to get that joy from your job. And the other thing is if it's not enjoyable, it's not sustainable.
Yes. Yep. And I always.
What do you want to add to that?
That's a good point, Mark. It's like, I was looking at all those pictures and putting together the slideshow over 10 years of the different band members that have come through Christafari in my time frame. And now Justin and I are the oldest band members, who've been with you from, 10 years now. And being an only child, I actually got emotional. I was like, these guys are my family. Most of the times we spent 7 months on the road. Like I was more on the road than home with my family. But it was never for the money, but it was just for the personal joy. And it was never like work. It was because we loved it so much. And of course the reward is eternal, because we give a gospel call at every show you do. The salvation call is given. And then when we go back to the places that we've been before and they remember us, or like the time where we prayed for that boy who couldn't hear in Brazil. And then we found out that he could pray, that he could hear after. He could hear.
We saw him the next year.
Yes.
Perfect hearing. Yeah.
Or the time we prayed for Fernando.
That was your hand on his ear. That was your
Fernando.
Hand on her stomach.
Yes.
And then they got pregnant. Yes. I'm telling you, God performed miracles through you.
Yes. Well,
one of my favorites is when we're on tour and I say, Avian and I are going to take a day off. And there are all these ministry opportunities that you've come up with. And we say, and we encourage you guys to do it without us.
Right.
Because the natural thing as the leader of this band is to put Mark up front. Even if somebody else speaks. When I'm around, I naturally end up being the one giving the gospel naturally. And so I remember in places like Vanuatu and others where you're the one presenting the gospel.
Yes.
You're the one on stage sharing, sometimes dancing. What's that like for you? Those opportunities aren't all the time. They're few and far between. But what's it like for you when you do those things?
It's very rewarding. We used to have an inside joke. We call it, I know Justin's hearing, he's laughing, but we used to call it the Christafari Kids Club, because Mark and Abby are like her parents.
You want to know the thing? Here's the thing. I'm like so excited. Like I'm watching all these Zoom
Christafari.
Not to interrupt, but I'm failing miserably. But
he intentado no interrumpir, pero tengo estas historias.
Of the place
He visto padres.
Gospel at the end. Leading people in the sinner's
Como
prayer.
nas últimas aulas, crianças ensinando o evangelho.
I know if anybody can manage that, it's our manager.
Yeah, it was so fun. I mean, gosh, and that when we go to schools, especially because, you know, my testimony of what God's done in my life, being an only child with drug addiction, I was also a teenage parent. So we get to, you know, really relate. And it's those intimate moments with the people that you don't get at a show that can transform someone's life and can be impacted, that can, you know, change their whole course correct their whole path that they're on. And that to me is the most rewarding feeling. And I miss the Christafari Kids Club, but, you know, as I watch now from home, there's still, you know, that actually is an extension of why we started Ascend, is because, you know, of that exact reason.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you're doing that. You're doing that now. The Christafari Kids Club, we want you to join again in a future trip. Okay, here's another one. I think you said it earlier, but it's worth repeating. You're an extension of the artist. You are to be working with them and not against them.
Yes.
You're to encourage their creativity to flourish and create a perfect environment under which they can do what only they can do.
Yes.
So celebrate those giftings. You're very administrative. You're very good at what you do in remembering things. You're very proactive. I'm very I gotta do this thing. Okay, it's 5. I better get online. You're the person who's there in advance, making sure things are going. Mm-hmm. And we need that responsibility, that proactiveness, and that push to the creatives like us. Some artists can be lost in their dreams and ideas, and they need those. I was just talking to a pastor saying, I'm struggling with Sabbath. What do I do on a Sabbath? Because I love my job. I want to record a song on the Sabbath. I want to write a song. I want this. I want that. You know, but I work a lot and I this, I that. You know, what do I do? And he said, a Sabbath should be a time for you to dream. And an artist needs a manager that encourages them to dream up those visions, those ideas. Young men will see dreams of visions. Old men will dream dreams. And to be able to then give those dreams to somebody like Torie, and then she gives those dreams legs, and many hands make work light.
Yes.
It would not be possible for us to do Ascend if it wasn't for Justin and Connor right now working feverishly behind the scenes. Feel free to say hi right now, Connor, so we can see your beautiful face. But there he is. But you see, these guys are working so hard, and there's a difference between a dream maker. I'm a dream conceiver. She's a dream maker, and he's a dream doer. And then there are dream killers. So you can't be a dream killer for an artist if you create the right environment. Thanks, Connor. If you create the right environment, I have plants that we just planted in the backyard, ones that were transplanted and little seeds. So what do I have to do? I have to water them. Mm-hmm. What else do I have to put on them? Some fertilizer. It takes a lot of crap to do this work.
Chicken manure.
Sometimes this job is stinky. Mm-hmm. It is. But the fruit of it is the end goal. That's the ultimate goal. Anything you'd like to add to that, sis?
Yes, the end goal. Yes. And just to sit back and be like, wow, that happened, you know. And like you said about Sabbath too, I love, you know, I'm a workaholic, and Mark was the one who told me, hey, you know, you should take some time, you know, Sabbath, you know, because I also am a deacon in my church. I'm very active in hula ministry at my church, and, you know, in hula with my kids, you know, so I have a lot of things going on. So Mark was always tell me about the Sabbath beach. He called board meetings. He's like, he knows I don't really like sand. But now we go snorkeling, you know, because that's real rejuvenating. You have to take that time for yourself to also decompress. And I also, my insight and my anointing comes from God. So I need that time to rest my head. my head. You don't want to be in my head sometimes because I have so many things going on, but I just need to like stop and just take some time out. And that's also where you can reconnect and rejuvenate spiritually to fill you up so you can keep going, because like I said, it is a tireless job and you do have to exert a lot of energy physically, emotionally, especially when I didn't realize, because this is my first time I worked with a band, but the job that I do, most secular people have all these different people to be their booking agent, be their tour manager, be their merchandise person, or be their I used to do all of that. So Mark, I see you coming in. So you need to take some time and decompress so you can get filled up with, only God can fill you up so you can go on to the next thing.
Yeah, and can I add on to that?
Yes, Connor too, yeah.
When you have roles of management and you're looking at so many people, so many little things, big things, it's knowing both how much you can take. And there's some days where you just are going way farther than you thought you could. Yeah. Whether, I've done, whether it be 20-hour days, 24-hour days, back to back, like 5 days that each are 18-hour days. And it's figuring out in that space, when you have a break, is it taking a nap? Is it cracking open your Bible just for a minute of renewal? Is it calling someone to pray for you, texting people to pray for you? As well as, for me, learning how to delegate effectively and efficiently and communicating, hey, I can't handle that project at this second. Can you please do whatever you can to solve the problem? Because I don't have the capacity to. And as well as, especially like in really tense moments, I've caught myself, I'll say something tensely to someone. And when you build that relationship with people, they know where you're coming from, but then it's like, hey, sorry, I'm tense right now. These are the reasons why. That it's not about you. I'm just balancing a million things that are all very stressful and very time sensitive. And so figuring out, building the relationship long term in a way that they can trust you. So if you're not in the best place, they know how to support you and, hey, we'll handle it, Connor. You do what you need to do because you're having a lot going on. So, and I've always struggled with Sabbath as well. And it's a slow process of figuring out the healthiest way to disconnect. Sometimes it's just laying back, laying low. Sometimes it's going out and running or exercising, playing a sport, calling a friend. But dwelling and being renewed in Christ, and not just compressing the stress, compressing the problem, but really being renewed in Christ. So.
Well said. I just read this morning in the Bible about on the Sabbath, Jesus is healing time and time again. I was like, or the verse that I just love, where Jesus tells his disciples after they've all gone out somewhere and they'll come back together. He's like, let's go off to a place and a quiet place together alone. So first of all, they're together, but they're alone. But then when they get there, there are people everywhere. So sometimes it doesn't always work out as planned. Some things that help me a lot is eliminate, concentrate, delegate. You hear me say this all the time. Eliminate, concentrate, delegate. Prioritize that. Yep. Figure it out. I'll keep a list of things that I need to do, and I'll look down them. I'll try and find the most important one and knock that off at the beginning of the day. Yep. The most important one at the beginning of the day before I ever turn on my phone is I turn on my Audible app and I listen to the Bible. I listen or I read, I find that verse, I review it, I try to apply it. And then when I turn on that, when I take it off airplane mode, I just have to take a deep breath, because there's never less than 100 messages. And all of a sudden, all that chaos is now met with a spiritually filled Mark. Another quote I say a lot is, many hands make work light. And the toughest thing for you guys right now is your chances are, if you're a band leader, like let's say of Tundem band in Kenya, Kefa is pretty much the sole leader. His wife is helping, but he's the sole leader of that. It's a thankless, tireless. People are going to say They're not going to appreciate what you do. They're not going to appreciate this. They're going to, oh, it's really, really frustrating. But don't let that stop your vision, your mission. You keep going. You have the right heart, the right attitude. And don't just look for somebody that is a great help. Look for someone like Torie that's a great fit. My dad has taught me over the years 3 things I always say: can do, will do, fit. Ask yourself this when you're dealing with somebody that could be a good, you know, we have people come and go from time to time, and I have to ask myself, can they do it? Will they do it? Are they a good fit? And ultimately the fit is what you need. Anything you want to add to that?
Also too, you have to be a doer. Like sometimes there's always, you have to be willing to do the work. You have to, you know, you cannot be the,
Not just a talker.
Not just a talker. You have to, you know, you can't be, you have to be willing to do what you're thinking in your head. If you can't do it for yourself, no one else is going to be able to do it for you first. And that's one thing that Mark taught me too, is that you have to be willing to do it. It is not going to, I'm not here going to try to lie to you. It's not always easy, and it's not always a struggle. It's always, you know, it's not always roses. Sometimes there is a struggle, you know, to keep it going. Or why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why can't, you know, like I'm always battling in my head. That's why I said you don't want to be in my head. But you have to just do it. Yeah, you have to.
but here's the thing though, between an artist and a manager, Torie, how many times do I have to, not have to, but do I get the honor of asking you, how are you doing?
Yeah. You do that every time I talk to you. Yeah.
And then I usually follow that up with, how are you really doing?
Yeah. Because you know me.
And then, but it's not just with you, it's with others. And then I go a step further. And then even if things are great, I'll say, how are things with your son? How are things with your daughter, with you know, their wedding plans? How are things with this, with that? How are things with your husband? How are things with your finances? And then when you tell me everything's great, then I follow up with
now, how is things really?
And then I follow up with okay, well, if there's a problem or an issue,
let us know.
I need to hear about it now, not later.
Yes, not later, Because I'm the type of person where, you know, I'm an only child, and I come from a single parent, you know, so it's just me and my mom, and we kind of had a interesting, I mean, we love each other, but it's not like my best, you know, it's just, you know, it could be better. So I always don't like to talk about things, and I don't know how I was blessed with 6 kids as an only child. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm like, oh gosh, please no. But I don't like to, I conceal very well, you know. So, but Mark is he always can feel like he's a good reader, you know. So he always asks me, how are you really doing, you know, and he always gives me that extra attention that I need. So I think that's why it's a good fit too as well. Yeah.
Well, glory to God. I definitely, my goal as the band leader is big picture stuff. So I dream of going here, and then she has to, as she's going to talk in the booking class.
Yes,
she has
to make it happen.
To then make it happen, and sometimes do tour managing. That's a management class. My role as a band leader is to be checking the pulse of the band, checking the pulse of the manager. You can't lead a manager or a team like this, a firm grasp, never letting them go. You have to lead like this.
Yes.
And the best way to keep them from jumping out or jumping off a cliff, which sometimes they feel like they want to, is communication.
Yes.
And there have even been times on tour where there have been tears. There have been, it hasn't been the easiest.
Yes. Yep.
And I believe that if we didn't have those conversations, that may have been your last tour.
Right.
And so I think that it's really, really crucial that the artist doesn't lose that. In the big picture, there's this small picture of each individual's heart. And then the manager takes that big picture and zooms in and deals with all those details, and allowing the artist to focus on the creativity, on doing the things that only they could do. there's a lot that I can do, but there's certain things that only I can do.
Right.
Lead vocals, certain writing, certain producing, certain things like that. And so when you enable that, and when you do that extra work, you also give me surf time, which is where I get my ideas. You
Yep.
also give me stop, hammock time, boom,
Yep.
doom, doom, doom. And hammock time is crucial too. Any addition to that? Anything else
But,
you want to add?
and you've given me the freedom too. You've given me the freedom over the years just to, you always ask me, well, what do you think, for writing or whatever we're doing? You've given me the freedom because you've let me blossom into the role that I have with Christafari, because you've allowed me, you've trusted me enough to give me the freedom to, say what I want to say or go the route that I want to go. Because I know you too. What would Mark say? What would Mark say? Or how would Mark say? Or what would Mark think? And so I don't want to say studied you, but but we have a great connection that way. So that's made it easier too.
And that has helped me immensely. I will say that there have been times where because of things going on in your life, you haven't been able to do the same amount of
Yes.
workflow.
Yep.
Just financially, one of the reasons why we're asking you guys to support her is when you're supporting a family and you're the only one with the job and you're not raising enough in mission support, you got to get a second job.
Yes.
And you've had to
Yep.
do that. Recently, you had to do that.
Yes.
And I remember there were times where you were doing that. We were giving you some space to do that. You always were helping and you were always
Yep.
working. But you know what I really missed in those times
Mm-hmm.
was those interactions,
Right.
the talking back and forth.
Yeah.
Because you counsel me as much as I counsel you.
Yeah.
And
That's so true.
it's a symbiotic relationship. It's like the little sucker that's cleaning the shark and he's getting a free ride and the shark's getting
Yeah.
clean. It just works. And I'm not saying that I'm the shark or that you're the shark, but it is a symbiotic. It's a relationship that ultimately should go.
Mas tem uma relação simbiótica aí, você, que a gente tem que se ajudar.
This is another thing that I love about this, and I kind of touched on it before, but a manager gives the artist the ability to do or say things.
El manager le da la habilidad al artista de lo que tiene que decir o lo que tiene que hacer.
Or sounding too hard-headed or
Right.
demanding, and we'll get into this when we
Right.
talk about booking, but give us some examples of that, please.
Of the times where oh gosh, okay, so are you talking about with promoters? Well, because that's the manager's job. The artist is supposed to be nice and so the manager has that firm authority given to her. So if it's something, we don't want people to get the wrong impression of Mark, because actually the first impression is for me. So I'm the one that fights, or the one that says yes or no, like, hey, you wouldn't want that to happen to you. Cross better from the manager than the artist, because you don't want the promoter or the church or whoever you're working with to think negatively about your artist. So most of the times, and sometimes I'm like in the middle, I'm like, oh my gosh, but we're going back and forth, especially in Brazil, where we have those tug and war, especially because of the language barrier too. Sometimes it doesn't come across the right way. So we have to make sure that things are smooth. So that's also a key thing for a manager too, as well.
Yeah, you definitely want, and there's simple things like can we get water on the stage?
Water, yes, water on the stage, or
a
more
bathroom
time,
with a toilet seat, perhaps.
Yeah. Or more
possible.
time to share the word, or
Yeah.
they want to put us on last and we want to go on first.
We
want to go before.
We have a daughter that that shouldn't be staying up until 4 a.m.
Yes.
So that we could minister the gospel before 100 people when there's 10,000 people there right now.
Yes.
So
yes.
and I guess that comes back to, how do you define success? Everything that we do on our tours goes towards one thing. What is that one thing?
Goes to God.
It's towards one action. presenting the gospel.
Presenting the gospel, the salvation call.
Presenting the gospel, leading people to Jesus. And so our goal is to get the greatest amount of people to do that, have the least amount of stress, the least amount of, so like we don't like to do shows that have a ticket because that means only people that can afford to come. Right. And so there are unique ways that we try and massage that so that it's a win-win for us and the promoter or the church. So yeah, that's definitely one. Another thing that I would say is that, speaking from my personal experience, if the manager has financial control, the manager needs to have financial accountability with that. Having been robbed by somebody in the past, it's definitely something you need to make sure that you don't have a snake in your bed, and that they have integrity, and that the artist has integrity.
Yep.
And for this manager, the artist has an internal compass. And if it's a Christian artist, that internal compass should be directed towards God. If the manager ever sees that compass is taking them away from God, it should be brought up one way or another. So it would be good for both to have some sort of spiritual authority over.
Yes.
And for the spiritual authority to give some sort of accountability. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yep. Being a person of integrity. I and like I said before, I don't want to misrepresent God, or I don't want to be a stumbling block. Especially my first place that I went out was Hawaii. Was my home, and so because of who my father-in-law is, I also represented him and his legacy in the music community. So I didn't want to misrepresent or be a stumbling block for people who are just coming to the Lord, or say like, hey, well, she's a Christian and she acts like that. Oh, no, I don't want to be that person, because I want everything to give God glory. So yes.
So true. And if you're doing it right, if you find that sweet spot, the hours, the minutes, the hours will fly by, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's dinner time. I better prepare something, or it'll just fly by. You're like, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Right.
If you're counting the minutes, the seconds, you're probably not doing it right, or it's probably not the right job for you. That being said, I love being on stage, but when I'm on tour for, let's say, a month, I may be on stage for a total of 12 hours.
Right.
For that whole month, or let's say 20 hours. The rest of the time I'm doing things that I don't necessarily like. Jet lag, travel, sleeping in beds I'm not comfortable with, using toilets I don't like. I mean, all these different things. It is not always super happy, fun time. Same thing with management. As she said, it's not a bed of roses. There are some thorns. But finding that drive, how do you define success? For us, it's soul saved. And when we see that on the first night, we know we're moving in the right direction. And as an artist, some of them get that success through being in the limelight. That's a dangerous thing, because they may not always like you. They may not always give you that attention. The manager can't get that success reward from being in the limelight. It has to be by the artist finding success and ultimately bringing people to Christ, which leads me to another one. If you're a Christian, should you be managing a non-Christian? I would say no. What would you say?
I would say no too.
Water and oil can't mix.
Yes. Because then you open yourself up to all the worldly things. Yes, all the worldly things that I gave up.
A host of compromise.
Yes.
It never happens overnight. It's like putting the frog in lukewarm water and slowly turning it up. And so some managers are for a season, some are lifetime. We're hoping Torie's lifetime. We love her so much. But the husband or wife has to be a support of this.
Yes. Yep.
We can't be pulling that apart. Torie used to tour with us a lot. And then we started to realize it was not that easy on the family. And so we changed that.
Yeah.
And now she kind of wishes she could tour more, and she
Yep.
will. You know, when
Yeah,
God
we were
opens
gonna
up the-
plan that up, but the COVID happened. So, hey,
Yeah.
I'll send classes.
Ultimately, remember this: no one in the world can represent you as good as you can represent yourself. That being said, while you're going to start off as a self-manager, it's inevitable. You have to find that person that can represent you like Torie does for us, which is better than myself. High five, sis.
Hey.
I have a few more little things that I just want to say
Sure.
really quick, and that is beyond the mutual respect, beyond this, these things. Step into their world, work within their desires, listen to their ideas, and ask, how can I help make this work? Ask for advice. Learn to just listen. Not an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's an intimate relationship. As you can see, Torie and I are like siblings in many ways. And so this is something that you will have to learn how to change and be diverse if you're going to be with this artist for the years, and translate the artist in a way that stimulates their creativity. You want to stimulate their creativity and facilitate their ability to connect with people, and that is what Torie has done here with Ascend, with everything. She's allowed me to focus on the majors and not on the minors, and we're so grateful for that. Let's open it up to questions. What do we have, Connor?
Yeah, so for the first question, which Danny asked, and we'll talk about booking for the booking shows, but as far as like honorarium and kind of working on that, if there's anything specific after what you already discussed.
Torie?
Whoa. Well, that just depends on the event. So, you know, when Christafari became full-time missionaries, you know, we didn't put a set honorarium out there. You know, if God was calling us to a certain place, we never said, hey, you have to come up with this amount of money or we won't come. You know, we had no specific honorarium, no rider. And especially for US, I would categorize it between US, America, and other countries, because most countries can't afford anything. So my first thing is always, well, what can you afford? Because we are 12 to 15 people that, you know, most of the times we pay our own airlines, you know, with with musicianary support. So we never say you have to pay us this amount of money, because that's a major turnoff, especially if you say we're working for God and we're missionaries raising support. That's that's hypocritical. It doesn't make sense. So we never say that. So except for festivals, like large festivals, especially like in Europe, which we were in the process of working on, but because of COVID, now that's been canceled. So with festivals that are charging their attendees a certain amount, then that's different, because they're generating income off Christafari being a headliner, which most of the time they are. So then that's when the honorarium comes into play. But we only do those type of tour to raise support to go to the next place. So yeah.
So success for us is obviously winning souls, but there are times when we play in places where they can afford to cover our costs. And so ultimate success for there is we win souls there and we raise enough to have that catapult us and push us in a trajectory of winning souls in another place. Like, let's say going from Europe and then having that send us to Africa.
Yes.
And other forms of success, financial, would be to have your costs covered, which isn't an easy thing to do. Occasionally there are those tours like that one Hawaiian Island tour you mentioned, where the boss covered us, got it where the merch was on point, merchandising was great, where there were love offerings. Just so you know what the word honorarium means. Honorarium means someone honors you with a love gift of some sort. Some artists demand that $100,000 for a Hillsong United type artist, or $30,000 or $50,000 for a Matt Redmond. The guy who sings 10,000 Reasons can ask for 25 or 30,000. We used to demand an honorarium, but we only did a few shows a year, and we didn't meet our mission, which was reaching the lost at any cost. It was only if if they could cover our costs, would we go? So that changed everything when we became missionaries. So here's the problem. When you ask a missionary what's it going to take, I'll say, well, come for free. And now we're committed to 150 shows for free that are going to cost us who knows how much to get there. So that's one of the reasons why Torie is so crucial. So part of our way of covering costs is fundraising. That's the main one. Part of it, a little bit is record sales, not much these days. And part of it is love offerings and honorariums. These all work together. The most important one is the fundraising, because every band member nobody gets a cent per show, which is why I want to encourage you once again to go to Christafari.com/donate and support this girl, support Torie today. Please, Lord Jesus. She just saw one of her biggest supporters because of COVID. The income that this supporter was supporting from has stopped, and possibly indefinitely, because of the quarantine on the islands. And that means that Torie's she's set up for a miracle. That's what she is.
Amen. Yes.
What's another question?
Yeah. So speaking of that, how do you manage a band or in this ministry during this COVID season? What are some things that have adjusted because we're in quarantine?
Everything.
Yeah, everything is adjusted. Well, that's when Mark came up with Ascend, because we still wanted to reach the lost at any cost and make disciples of all nations. And because of Christafari Kids, like, we would go out and do these workshops to equip people to grow and go. Now we're doing it on Zoom because the mission hasn't stopped. God hasn't stopped. And the calling for Christafari hasn't stopped. So, we still have band meetings. We still have things that behind the scenes are still going on.
Yeah.
So we're not necessarily, but we are like postponing our tours or places, till further out, like 2021 now, but we're still working. It's just different. A lot of, we did our live Easter resurrection service. So we have music videos, we have all those behind the scene things that still are going on.
Yeah, in fact, I think Connor will definitely acknowledge that we're working harder than we work when
Yes.
we're on tour. It is. It's been harder. It's been much harder. When we came back, we decided to go from releasing a music video every month to every 2 weeks to doing instant song, instant video, to recording albums, to promoting those things.
Right. Moment to pray.
Moment to pray. We did that in 3 days or whatever. All these things are going on. It's a madhouse, all while my dad is in a coma, coming out of it. There's a lot going on. And so for a manager, it's the way I see it is there's about 6 things that we do, and one of them we can't do right now, which is live concerts.
Yes.
We can stream.
Yep.
And so the other ones, though, instead of doing a little bit of those other things, we're like tripling.
We're ramping it up. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's when, right now, honestly, at the end of Ascend, we're going to have to take a mandatory tour band break. And then watch out, Torie. So I'm going to have some ideas when we come back.
Oh, gosh.
Probably on the first day. Hold on to the rails.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Okay. What other questions do we have?
Yeah. So speaking of, once we get kind of back to touring, but what are some things in the past that a show was about to be canceled, and what did you do to make it happen in the end?
Was like that.
Every show we've ever done.
Where the Solomon Islands, that's a perfect example of where it almost canceled out. Or also too, when we went to Argentina, the Aviva Argentina, the first time, where he didn't want to do the other, he only wanted to do one. But it just takes a lot of gentle persuasion. And so I tried to take that stress off of Mark as much as I could, to just finesse the situation. And we always, whatever's the source, I always ask the promoter. And it was hard, especially in Argentina, where there's a language barrier, but it's like, oh, well, what is the reason why? And so we always try to make, like, not try, but I'm always sympathetic And I always want to hear the other person's reasons, you know, because in their mind it's valid, you know, there's validation there and there's concern. So I want to be, you know, a good listener and hear what he's trying to say. And otherwise, you know, come up with a solution, you know, compromise on our situation to make it work. You know, if it's like this all the time, it's not going to work. And so our ultimate goal was to see souls saved, because people were already being promoted in these certain areas, and we didn't go all this way, you know, especially in Solomon Islands too. If they cancel Solomon Islands, we had to get to Solomon Islands anyway to get to our next spot, which is Vanuatu.
We were coming anyways.
Yep.
So Solomon's, let's use that as an example. We found out it was canceled. The promoter just got started too late or whatever, hadn't sold enough tickets.
Yes.
He was going to do a ticketed concert, and he was going to use that to cover the sound. The sound and everything was, and lodging and everything was going to be about 30,000. And it was impossible for them. And we were flying into the Solomons, and 5 or 7 days later, flying out of the Solomons. We were coming anyways. Yep. We had to pay for our food and our lodging now anyways. So we already had these costs, and we knew we had to minister. So first thing we did was find out how much the sound was, and then we negotiated. Torie negotiates those things down from 30 to 20 to this to that, from 1 day to 2 days, from 2 days to you know, and so we find out how much food is going to be. We negotiate that down. She tries to negotiate up for covering costs and negotiate down for spending costs. And that's what a mother of 6 could do, because, you know, you got to learn to cut coupons when you
yes.
And so there was that side of it. And then of course we did the shows, and they were the most successful of the year.
Yes.
And that's another thing to realize. With great position for the kingdom comes great opposition. Torie, type that up. Because we're going to use that as a quote coming up for but yeah, I just came up with
here
that.
I am.
I just came up with that. Yeah. When God gives you a great position, expect great opposition, and the enemy does that. And so we just kind of look at each other and smile, because we know, oh wow, the devil's busy.
Yep.
He sees something coming. And so we really know when we get that on tour. Wow, what are the questions we have that are relevant to this specifically?
Yeah, what are the best qualities for a good manager to have?
Tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, a peacemaker, solution finder, detail-oriented, patient, but a fighter. It's tough, because here's the thing. I know Torie can argue. I know she can throw down, because from time to time I hear about things that have gone on with extended family members or whatever, but I've never seen that with her. So she knows how to hold herself, how to keep that composure. That body language is really crucial, because especially when you're dealing with the promoter, you can't be like, you know. But at the same time, you have to be able to find those solutions, and they have to be creative. I think flexibility, elasticity. What are some other things? I've said most of them already.
Yeah. Integrity.
Yes.
Multitasker.
Major multitasker.
Yeah. A good listener too.
Yeah, good listener is great.
Yeah.
And someone who doesn't have to see things, have things done their way.
Yes.
But
die to self daily.
What was that?
Die to self daily.
Biblical. Is there a Bible verse that you have for us today as we come to a close?
A Bible verse today. Not off the top. Okay. No, I was like, oh, good. Yes.
What is this verse?
This is
Why is it significant to us?
This is our verse for the year for Christafari, which is be steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Yes.
Okay, so that if it's done for the Lord, it's not in vain. Right. If it's not for the Lord, it is in vain. Yes. The Bible says, why do you spend your money on what is not bread and what does not satisfy? working for God, serving for the Lord is not the easiest thing in the world. The disciples all had major opposition, but at the end of it all, they also were majorly blessed. And I hope you guys have been blessed by this message today, by this incredible woman of God that we have been so blessed to work with. I hope that you are able to use these things. We're going to send you in a little while, not immediately, a recording of this so that you can marinate on it, so that you can learn more, glean more. We're so grateful for each of you guys. Justin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so again, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It was such an amazing class. And as you've heard many times, I want to personally ask you to jump on christafari.com/donate and click on Torie Hoopei's name, because she's not only one of my bosses, but she's my sister. And I know her family and her situation really well. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. And another thing I want to say is I want to thank all of our translators for doing the hard work of translating simultaneously, from translating Portuguese to Spanish while we're talking. Not we talked and we pause. As we're talking, we're translating on the other line. So thank you, Michelle, Oliver, and your entire team. And I want to encourage you guys to visit our classes tomorrow. We will be doing reggae bass done by Hinato Times, Avion Blackman, and Nikita Carter, and like take an hour and a half to just learn from the best. And then after that, we're going to be doing a band leading class from Mark Mohr. So if you guys enjoyed this class, go ahead and register for the rest of the classes on ascendmasterclasses.com.
Yes.
And you know what, Torie, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Remember what you're going to say, please.
Okay.
I want to ask you to join us tomorrow because I like to do things last minute. Abby and I are going to be leading that class. I've asked her to join.
Okay.
Nobody's helped me lead this band like you have. So if you could join as well,
Sure.
and we'll continue this conversation. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, if anybody has any personal questions, if you want to contact me through our email, which is booking@christafari.com, or I'm also on Facebook or Instagram under Torie Hoopii. I'm also open to any questions. If you guys need extra insight, I'm also there to help you as well.
Okay, and someone, Jamie K, just said that the PayPal link wasn't working on the website. So Torie, if you could get our web guy to fix that. In the meantime, they can send it to booking@christafari.com. I just posted it in the chat, booking@christafari.com. And make sure you put in the message that it's for Torie, and we'll make sure. We're just so grateful for you guys all. We're so grateful for you, Torie. Looking forward to doing so much more together. And I pray that in the same way that those plants that I planted the other day have been watered daily and fertilized, that you guys grow, that you guys bloom, that you guys blossom, and that you guys bear great fruit also, that you grow and that you go. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next.
Thank you. Aloha.